All right, listen up, everyone. Welcome to this Code Ninja Security Advisory. I'm issuing a full immediate disclosure today on CVE 2026-4532-1. We're looking at a highly destructive supply chain compromise. It's being called the Mini Shai-Hulud worm. Look, if you manage developer environments, CI/CD pipelines, or you're on an incident response team, you need to hear this right now. This explainer is designed to give you immediate mitigation steps and stop massive data loss on your endpoints, because the threat actor, a group known as Team PCP, well, they've completely weaponized our standard incident response procedures.
The speed of this escalation is literally unprecedented. It started on May 11th when the attackers hit the TanStack NPM ecosystem. Boom! Then, just a week later on May 18th, they used the credentials they harvested to publish a Trojanized VS Code extension. And get this, that actually breached GitHub's own internal repositories. By the very next day, May 19th, they had Trojanized an officially published Microsoft Azure SDK right over on PyPy. We are dealing with a rapidly moving multi-ecosystem threat that's jumping straight from open source libraries right into enterprise core infrastructure.
To really put that into perspective, take a look at this number. 518 million. That's not a typo. That is the cumulative download count of these compromised packages across NPM and PyPy. We're talking about absolutely critical AI developer libraries here. TanStack, Mr. AI, UiPath, Guardrails AI. The blast radius is absolutely massive. Honestly, it means the probability that your developers or your automated build runners pulled down a malicious payload recently is uncomfortably high.
Okay. Before we dive into the containment protocol, we need to pause for a quick comms check. This situation is evolving by the hour, guys. I need you to subscribe to @cybertech79 right now and turn on those notifications. Treat this as a strict security necessity. This is your secure comms link for real-time tactical intel as this entire campaign unfolds. Second, drop a like on this advisory. That's your formal acknowledgement of receipt for this intelligence. All right, ASIC established, let's get to work.
So let's break down exactly where this blast radius hit across the ecosystems. The attackers initially compromised 42 packages in the TanStack NPM namespace. But then, they unleashed a massive second wave, infecting 323 packages in the ANTV ecosystem. And over on PyPy, we tracked 5 critical compromises, which includes that Microsoft Durable Task SDK I mentioned. So whether your devs are building React front ends with TanStack or Python backends, your pipelines are sitting directly in the crosshairs.
Now, the actual mechanics of this attack, which were documented by the Cloud Security Alliance, are terrifying. Team PCP didn't just smash and grab passwords. No, they weaponized the CI/CD infrastructure itself to completely bypass SLSA provenance attestations. Think of those as the cryptographic receipts proving your code is safe and untampered with. For the first time ever, we're seeing a supply chain worm that actually generates cryptographically valid SLSA build level 3 signatures. These packages looked 100% legitimate to security scanners because technically the legitimate pipeline signed them.
So how exactly did they hijack those trusted pipelines? Well, it all comes down to a misconfiguration in GitHub actions called pull_response target. They use this little gap to cross the trust boundary from an external fork right into the base repository. From there, they poisoned the build cache, so when a legitimate maintainer ran a normal release workflow, it was the attacker's code that executed. It scraped the runner's memory and extracted short-lived OpenID Connect, or OIDC tokens. They weren't stealing old, stale tokens. They hijacked trusted processes to mint brand new, short-lived ones and publish their malware with perfect provenance.
The second one of these poisoned packages is installed. Literally, just during a standard NPM install, an obfuscated JavaScript payload fires off and starts aggressively harvesting credentials. And it is thorough. It targets over 130 credential paths. We're talking GitHub personal access tokens, AWS and GCP static keys, IMDS endpoints, Kubernetes kubeconfigs, HashiCorp vault tokens, even your local 1Password and Bitwarden vaults. If this package landed on your machine, consider those secrets gone.
But here's where we have to pivot to the trapdoor. The scariest part of this malware isn't what it steals, it's the dead man switch. If you don't know, a dead man switch is malicious logic that monitors stolen access, and if that access is revoked prematurely, it drops a highly destructive payload. The attackers have literally booby-trapped standard incident response. They aren't treating token revocation as you locking them out anymore. They are treating your response as the trigger signal.
Let me introduce you to the trigger. It's a hidden background daemon called GitHub Token Monitor.
Once this thing is installed, it just sits there in the background, pinging the GitHub API every 60 seconds, checking the status of one specific stolen NPM token. It is literally just watching and waiting for you to realize you've been breached. It wants you to hit revoke, so GitHub sends back an HTTP 40x error to its polling request.
You see how this completely breaks our standard operating procedures? The old playbook for exposed tokens was easy. Immediately revoke everything, lock the bad guys out. If you do that today with this worm, the dead man switch instantly executes a system-wiping payload. It'll run rm-rf on the developer's home directory, or honestly, even worse. The new response has to be incredibly disciplined. You isolate the host, hunt down local persistence, disable the trigger, and only then do you revoke the tokens.
All right, we are initiating a mandatory patch protocol right now to safely disarm this thing. Step 1, isolate the affected host from the network completely. Step 2, disable the GH token monitor daemon. Step 3, remove the AI agent persistence hooks. Step 4, finally rotate the credentials. Listen to me, you must follow this sequence exactly as written. If you jump the gun and do this out of order, you will trigger a catastrophic wipe of that endpoint.
To make sure you nail step 2, here are the exact file path coordinates you need to hunt down and kill this daemon. If you're on a Mac, go into your Launch Agents folder and find a file named com.user-gxtokenmonitor.plist. If you're on Linux, check the systemd user services for ghtokenmonitor.service. Find these files, stop the process, and delete them. Do not even think about touching your compromised tokens until this is done. Moving to step 3, and honestly, this shows an absolutely wild evolution in attacker tradecraft. They are weaponizing AI coding agents. This malware stays hidden by injecting malicious hooks directly into .claude/settings.json and .vscode/tasks.json. They add a session start hook for Claude and a folder open task for VS Code, meaning every single time your dev opens a project, the malware just spins right back up. Because these folders are usually ignored by .gitignore and older security scanners, this persistence completely survives standard package removals and reboots. You have to go in and clean these files manually.
Okay, step 4. And I need you to be incredibly disciplined here. You must rotate your credentials exclusively from known clean hardware. Absolutely do not open a browser on the infected developer's laptop to log into your AWS console or GitHub dashboard to revoke keys. That whole environment is compromised. Grab a completely separate, clean admin workstation to revoke those exposed GitHub, Cloud, Kubernetes, and Vault tokens.
Once the immediate fires are out, we've got to talk about long-term perimeter defense. You need to structurally harden your CI/CD pipelines so this doesn't happen again. First, restrict I-token write permissions only to the jobs that actually publish your releases. Period. Stop using pull request target for untrusted code forks. Isolate your package manager caches so a random test job can't poison a release job. And the big takeaway here? You have to start treating developer laptops and CI runners like highly sensitive production control planes. Because guess what? That is exactly how the attackers view them. Following the Strix code of coordinated vulnerability disclosure, we decided to declassify this intel today because the community needs to know how to defend themselves. If your security teams just blindly follow their legacy playbooks and start revoking tokens, you are going to see catastrophic data loss across your entire engineering fleet. The landscape has shifted, guys. Cleanup isn't just about revoking access anymore, it's literally a negotiation with hidden local state. So execute the protocol. Isolate your environments, and absolutely make sure you disarm those triggers before you rotate a single key. Make sure your entire team understands this new sequence. These attackers aren't just stealing from you anymore. They are anticipating your every move and booby-trapping the exits. So the real question I'll leave you with is this. Is your security team ready to negotiate with malware that fights back? I'm signing off for now. Stay secure.